I'm not there yet.
Well, then I'm scared of what kind of exit you gonna suggest, Stacy D.
Do I have to keep it
Guns
clinical?
blaze.
Do I have to keep it clinical, or can I do it Stacy D style?
We don't want them going out guns blazing. we're we're going to talk about the best way to make an exit and still be in a position to be able to fight for custody of the children. I guess if all else fails, we'll go with whatever approach this Stacy D suggests for men exiting these domestically violent relationships. Stacy D, what's going on in your world today? What's going on?
Let me see. Getting ready for Easter. Oh, first I'd like to give a shout out to my oldest
Pandemic
daughter.
Easter.
Huh?
Pandemic Easter.
Pandemic Easter. Okay, first I'd like to give a shout out to my oldest daughter, Baby D. I love you. We celebrated her birthday yesterday. It is so funny about Easter because I had two babies the day after Easter. One was in March and one was in April. It's really funny how they say when we're gonna have Easter. Okay, so mid-level, I'm gonna call myself a mid-level mother. Mid-level mothers are the mother who has grown children that should be cooking, but you are the matriarch of your household, of your family. So the responsibility basically is that you have to cook because my mom is deceased. So I am the matriarch. I am the boss of the family. It's my family. I kick you out if I don't like you or you act right. Don't act right. You get kicked out.
Stacy D is the matriarch. All right,
I'm
go
the
ahead.
matriarch.
Hey.
Never wanted that position though. How about that?
You know, but doesn't it come as you get older and established and you are the secure foundation in the family? Like, isn't that a natural transition?
Yeah, and after your mom died, I wouldn't have never wanted. I mean, just like Mother's Day, I could always go without my children celebrating me for Mother's Day as long as I could have my mother. Okay, we're gonna get off of that because I'll get all.
Right, right. And then you're gonna have me upset because I
I
ain't got no
know,
mom.
I know, because we right there together, no mommies.
Right.
I love you, Mama. Love you to death. Okay, so
I'm sorry, I still got bronchitis.
I
Okay.
see. Maybe need to go back through Oscars. Ooh, I just showed how old I was. See?
Oscar,
Yes.
you know I got played at Walgreens last week.
Yeah,
I'm just
I mean,
gonna
yeah.
ride out
Maybe
my
need to go back
bronchitis.
to Walgreens and ride back again. Okay,
I
anyway,
got
okay,
played.
let me stay focused. My ADHD is going, you guys. Um,
Go ahead, Stacy D.
okay. This is the mid-level mothers that we have to cook all this food now. We was like really in the kitchen help our mothers a little bit. But these new age daughters, let me tell you what my daughters do. They know that I don't like the fussing. So they will come over and I think deliberately get into it with each other. So then I kick both of them heifers out the house. So then I'm stuck with all that food. But I got something for you. Y'all can fuss all you want to. Baby D, you still gonna be over there chopping up them onions and bell peppers and peeling them sweet potatoes. And my baby girl, Lenny, guess what? You're gonna be over there helping me make that dressing. And guess what? We even have an addition because my daughter has a daughter. So it is literally three generations in the kitchen cooking. And she's 10 years old,
Oh,
double
that's sweet.
digit, and she be picking greens, honey. You tell me I ain't getting them right.
There you
She
go.
be
This sounds
picking
good.
greens at 10 years old. So that's what I'm getting ready for is the whole Easter thing. So
Well, I just want to say for those listeners out there, Stacy D does throw down. Please tell me, is bread pudding on the menu?
no, I told you
Oh, you play too much.
that's at Christmas. I cook bread
Once a year?
because it's a lot.
Who's eating bread pudding once a year, Stacy D?
My house, because you know I'm trying to get thicky thin.
Thicky thin.
Thicky thin.
Okay, because you've been thicky thick for so what thicky thin?
Thicky thin.
That don't sound like good dinners to me.
It's not.
That sound like
But
salad.
we're going to Cheesecake Factory. Hey
Yeah,
guys, I've been trying to go to Cheesecake Factory for about what, 3 weeks now?
yes, and I'm trying to get that sorted out. But yeah, I just wanted to say that whatever you whipping up, I know it is gonna be good because Stacy D, I done had some of your cooking and it was wonderful.
Thank you.
So
Thank you,
I
JP.
hate I'm gonna miss it. Whatever dessert you make, save me some. Okay.
Lemon meringue pie.
I'll tear that up.
I know you will.
Yeah, I'll
I'll
tear
bring you
that up.
some.
Okay. Um, Here's what I've been thinking about. This is my check-in for the week. You know, I have seen police officers in therapy for years now, but it's always been for couples therapy and for family therapy, co-parenting and different things like that. And I kind of mentioned this last week that I would talk about this week, but one of the insurance companies has started referring police officers who are mandated to come to therapy for misconduct, um,
Mm-hmm.
excessive force,
Horse.
excessive force. And this is a little difficult for me seeing them in this in this light because we in the community are in a battle and a struggle for police officers to basically stop killing black men in the streets. And a lot of times it's under the, everybody assumes that it's only white racist police officers who are engaging in this behavior. But something to think about with the whole George Floyd case, two of those officers were minorities. And I feel like when it comes to police officers, yes, they may be white and racist or whatever, they may be African American, but to me, they are more blue than any race that they might be.
They are.
Because I have had negative interactions with black police officers. And I remember when I was younger and I would have a negative interaction, with a black police officer, I was shocked, like, okay, he's black and why is he treating me this way? Why is he acting like, I'm out here slinging crack or something? Like,
You was in your
dude, I
Trans
didn't
Am?
I didn't pause at a stop sign. No, I'm talking before that. I'm talking back in hoopty days,
Oh.
like high school and right after high school. And in all fairness, I have had some wonderfully respectful, pleasant interactions with white police officers
Exactly.
who have let me go, and given me
With the
warnings on
warning.
tickets and different things like that. We have to teach our people, our kids, that it is not just about the race of the police officer. Ultimately, they are blue, and our kids need to be careful no matter what the race of the police officer is. Do not let your guard down because this police officer that pulled you over is African American or is Asian or Hispanic, because and people may disagree with me on this, but I feel like they are blue first.
They are.
And I'm going to tell the insurance company I'm not going to be able to do it
You gonna
because the mentality, it is a struggle seeing them when they're mandated because of some excessive force issue. It is so difficult to get them to accept responsibility for their behavior, accept responsibility for simple crap like making it to the dang gum therapy appointment. And, because when an officer is struggling to accept responsibility for their behavior and they're rationalizing the behavior and sincerely feel like, I don't think I did anything wrong.
That's exactly how they feel.
That's how they feel. And so they are going to miss half the therapy appointments, make excuses when they come in for therapy. Like it is more of a headache because initially I was like, well, this could be an opportunity, especially if it's when it's Black officers, to explain to them, listen, the community is on a mission to end police brutality perpetrated against young African American males, and you are counterproductive to our struggle if you, as a Black police officer, are also engaging in excessive force and police brutality. And so initially I was like, okay, I'll see them because, this could be a way for me to kind of address that. These people are so damn annoying, Stacy D. Like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it.
You know what? KCK, I was on a board with them once before when we was at the mental health center, and we were talking. I can't believe that you can't remember this. We were talking about helping them with the psycho part of them in the beginning part when they first started the whole training before they even become a police officer. And remember,
Mm-hmm.
we had a big meeting. Joy, you was in there on that meeting. It was me, you, the director, and we were talking about how can they try to psychoanalyze and get the right ones for the fit, because they had to start at this in the beginning. And even with people of our race, it's something within them. Like if they were bullied, they're going to be messed up because now they are in
Yes.
a line of having some kind of power. So they have to demonstrate their power.
Yes.
The Hispanics are the same thing. So they need to really do a better job. I'm going to find out exactly what type of person the pre-officer is
Of
before even
screening into the academy because
exactly.
something
Don't you
is
remember now?
no. And obviously they didn't listen to us because I don't feel like I still don't feel like they do a good job of screening who makes it into the academy and who ends up out on the streets interacting and engaging in the community.
It's the beginning part of it. I think that they need to do better on the screening part. Now, the old heads, that's going to be a lot of work. But those beginning ones, because I didn't actually know that they did. I was one person that I personally knew, and he was Caucasian, and he was trying to get into the academy, and he was a social worker, believe it or not.
Hmm.
And he got screened out, and I was like, "Thank you, Jesus. Thank you,
Oh, he
Jesus."
was a mess.
He was a mess. He was a mess, and he did not need to have the whole power thing. It would have been all bad, literally all bad.
When I worked for Johnson County Community Corrections, I think I talked about this before. I worked with a lot of men who were passing through there on their way to becoming police officers. They were awful. I Every time one of them would come to work celebrating that they was handing their resignation because they had gotten on some police force, I was like, you can't treat the residents in this facility like decent human beings. And most of them were there for drunk driving. Not that I'm minimizing drunk driving, I'm just saying these were not violent offenders,
Not
and they couldn't treat them with a level of dignity and respect. And just knowing it was always the worst ones that would come in handing in their letter of resignation because they got on this police force or that police
they
force.
was working at Johnson County Corrections as their step, and they look
Yes,
at the resume and be like, "Oh, you work there?"
yes. It was
And
a
that's the
stepping
step.
stool. And the most primitive degenerates were passing through and becoming police officers. They need to do a better job of screening. And this meeting that you're talking about, I want what really needs to happen is a task force that includes mental health practitioners and clinicians and social workers and to help with the screening as well as the ongoing psychological maintenance.
It's coming.
I hope so,
Oh, it is.
because
You know,
some of
I
them,
stay in a plug on that part.
okay,
I stay
well,
in the
keep
plug
me
on that.
posted because something
Oh,
needs to
I
be done.
will. Oh yeah, most definitely. We're gonna get on top of that. At least if we don't do nothing else, at least get the dot working right. Maybe we
At
might
least
at
let's
least.
start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's get to mental health and illness in the news.
Uh-oh.
Stacey
Uh-oh.
D,
Uh-oh. I don't have
what you
nothing
got?
because you finna
I
take
got
all the
something.
time up.
I
I
got
know that's
something.
why I'm not doing nothing because you okay, people. Remember I told y'all 2 weeks ago that we don't need to give Gerald a safe word. Please email me or put something down the bottom so we can get a safe word for JP because you know he go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And I got to say a safe word.
But I always let you go first. Did I not just say, Stacey D, you first
But
with the
I
check
opted
in?
out because you about to get started. And it's, so I'm opting
But
out. Go on and on, JP. Go on.
okay, but at least I try to let you go first, Stacey D.
I know.
Okay, you already know, everybody already knows what my mental health and illness in the news segment is going to be focusing on today. Okay, it's the Derek Chauvin murder trial in George Floyd's death. He murdered this man. And in watching it, the prosecution is doing a wonderful job. They are putting great witnesses on the stand who are describing what they witnessed, what they experienced. What's interesting also is these witnesses are describing trauma that they themselves
Oh
have
yeah.
suffered as a result of watching a
PTSD.
man murdered. Something,
PTSD.
yeah, absolutely. Something else to think about, though, for those listeners out there who are watching it, you guys need to be careful because it is so graphic and so intense.
I'm not
I'm,
watching it.
it
I'm not watching it.
There is a risk for developing secondary PTSD, vicarious trauma. I call it secondary PTSD.
Yes.
Just from watching the video and hearing the testimony, I'm sure some of the jurors are going to walk away from this with secondary
Oh, they're
PTSD.
gonna be traumatized, most definitely.
Yeah. So it's important to watch, but I encourage everyone. You got to know when you hit your max because you do not want to have secondary PTSD. You're gonna
And
have
I
to
think
know it.
you also have to try to go into it at a good mindset, at a good mind space before you
Right.
watch it. Because guess what? You'll watch that, and I really try to be a calm down person now in my older age. But
Right.
just hearing about it from my friends and stuff, like I told everybody, I can't watch it because I will literally be out here mad, ready. I can't watch it. I
Yeah.
can't watch
It's because it is necessarily graphic.
it.
They
Yes.
have they have to give all the gory details, but please beware when you sit down to watch it, be prepared. The witnesses, as I said, are doing a wonderful job. You have the young female witness who described lying awake at night and apologizing to George Floyd for not being able to do more to save his life. But then she said something really poignant. She
Is that the
said,
EMT? Is that the
huh?
EMT? Is that the EMT?
No, I ain't got to the EMT yet. This
Okay.
is the young lady who made the statement that she feels guilty that she could not do more, but at the same time, she realizes it's not about what she could do, it's about what he did, which is very true. A male witness who said, I called the police on the police because I felt like I had witnessed a murder. And
And
he
he did.
had.
And he
It's
did.
interesting, psychologically, we are still programmed that if there's a crisis, if there's an emergency, call the police. And so when he made that statement, I called the police on the police. Even in watching a murder, his thought was, I need to call the police for help. Unfortunately, it can end up with tragic results. But that just goes to show how programmed we are. Ooh, crisis, emergency, problem, call the police. Even on the police when they're committing the killing. I felt like the star witness was the EMT. I felt like she was a star witness because one, the jury's going to find her to be incredibly credible because let's just keep it real. She's white and female. And they're going to find her to be extremely credible. This is for those of you who haven't watched, this was the off-duty EMT / firefighter who was there when like she walked up on this scene and described walking up on this scene and seeing 3 adult male officers placing the majority of their body weight upon one man.
3
and she
against
just
1.
Yes. And she described Chauvin's knee and weight on George Floyd's neck and said, quote, his face was like smushed into the ground, end of quote. She informed them that she was an EMT, like, because she was saying that
what did they say to her?
The officer, Tao, I believe, said to her something along the line, if you're a real EMT, then you know better. Her perspective is, yeah, I know better than what you all are doing. Like, you're killing this man. Allow me to help him. Allow me to at least check his pulse, do some chest compression. Like, she felt like she was watching him slowly die, and she could see fluid coming from his body, which put her in a mindset of, because when we die, like our bladder relaxes, yes, and we lose like our bodily fluids. And she's like, he's dying, and they would not allow her to help. And one of the things she said is, quote, he was being restrained, but he wasn't moving. And for her, it got to the point where she was angry. She was cursing at the officers. And the defense attorney made a comment about her reaction and the reaction of the crowd. And she said, basically, it's a little upsetting watching officers kill a man in the street. Like, what do you expect? And really, when you think about it, they were talking about this on MSNBC today. That crowd, compared to some crowds in some cities, it was not an unruly crowd. It was not a mob. No, that's just an excuse. And there was the 9-year-old.
They did not care who was watching.
No, because and that's what I'm saying about that mentality. Yes. That mentality that I'm seeing police officers in therapy, they really do believe that there is nothing wrong with what they have done. He is sitting there in court every day as if
I told you
the rest of the world
that he did anything wrong. I told you that, what was that, 2 weeks ago? That in his mind, he don't think he did anything wrong.
And he thinks the rest of the world is tripping.
He think he was protecting and serving because this man tried to do a $20 bill.
Right.
Now, I have several businesses. If someone tries to pass me a $20 bill, I'm going to handle it myself. I'm not going to call the police. That's just Stacy.
Right.
Well,
and the store, initially, their version of trying to handle it on their own, but the manager kept sending young people out to the car to address the issue like 2 or 3 times to try to get Floyd and the other gentleman in the car to come back into the store. I'm like, well, you're the manager. Why are you sending this 18-year-old and this 17-year-old out to the car to confront grown men about a fake 20 that it's quite possible he didn't even know it was a fake 20?
That is a possibility. We don't know. Because guess what? He never had his day in court. He never had his day in court.
Right. what was really sad is the 9-year-old who said, I heard him say he couldn't breathe. He wanted his mom.
Mama.
And think about the trauma
I
that
just
that
got chills.
9-year-old
Mm.
is experiencing. So here's what I want to do real quick. Let's take a look at what unfolded psychologically, because I was always wondering what happened that led up to them having him on the ground and Chauvin having his knee on his neck in the first place. And they showed the video footage of it yesterday. In their initial struggles with George Floyd, they were attempting to put him, now mind you, he's 6'2", 220 pounds. He was 6'2", 220 pounds. They was trying to put him in the back of the police vehicle. Now, yes, it's like a SUV, but it's a small SUV. Small SUVs are still cramped, okay? They were trying to put this 6'2", 220-pound man into the back of what was going to be, it was visibly, it's in the footage, it was visibly a very tight fit, okay? He was resisting and yelling that he had claustrophobia. So as I'm watching this, because now we're getting into the mental health and illness in the news. So I'm watching this, and he was screaming that he had claustrophobia, that he couldn't breathe. The level of fear that he was exhibiting would make it absolutely believable that he had the diagnosis of claustrophobia. Let's take a look at claustrophobia. Claustrophobia is a diagnosis that's under the umbrella of these specific phobias. The specific phobias are under the umbrella of the anxiety disorders. The thing about anxiety disorders is any anxiety disorder, PTSD is an anxiety disorder, acute stress disorder, social anxiety disorder, and social phobia. These are all anxiety disorders. Anxiety disorders oftentimes tend to overlap, but when anxiety disorders reach a certain level of acuity, it can cause the person to cross over to panic disorder, which is panic attacks. One of the anxiety disorders that causes a person to experience, let's talk about panic attacks, because as I was watching this footage, I was in my mind screaming, if he has claustrophobia, that's why he's fighting to get out of the car, because they had got him in the car and somehow I don't know if he got out or they dragged him out. But when a person has claustrophobia and you're putting them in a small place and they have crossed over to a full-blown panic attack. That's why he was screaming that he couldn't breathe before they even started choking him. And here's the reason why. Let's take a look at the symptoms of a panic attack. Panic attack, you have heart palpitations, heart beating really fast, sweating, crying, okay? Shortness of breath. A person is literally experiencing shortness of breath when they are having a panic attack. Feelings of choking. All of these symptoms are straight out of the DSM-5, because you know on the show,
That's your Bible. That's our Bible.
Right.
That's our Bible.
Therapist Bible. And these are the official symptoms. Feelings of choking, chest pain or discomfort, nausea, something else that he complained about when he was on the ground. He was saying his stomach was getting upset. Nausea and abdominal distress, feeling dizzy, feeling lightheaded, feeling faint. Derealization, which is a detachment from reality. So when he started to scream and call out for his mother, who is deceased, it's quite possible he was experiencing the symptom of derealization. Depersonalization is an out-of-body experience, okay? I don't think he was experiencing that. Trembling. And here are the two main symptoms that causes so many people who have panic attacks to show up at the emergency room, because it is very common for people to end up in the ER. Two main symptoms: they either feel like they're going crazy or they feel like they are about to die. So what we have here is a man who alerted officers that he had claustrophobia. And even if he didn't have claustrophobia, he was freaking out and visibly having a panic attack.
And
He's
actually,
saying,
JP, they did not follow protocol. Whenever someone says that, they are supposed to keep them handcuffed and set them on the curb, and they are supposed to have one of the big vans to come and get them. That's standard protocol. And call an EMT.
and that's what I was wanting to know. Why didn't they call a paddy wagon instead of trying to be determined to squeeze this man into the back of this car? And he's saying he has claustrophobia. He was screaming that he couldn't.
Because they don't know their medical background. So they have to take them for their word and do their protocol. Just like if they say they're about to kill themselves, well, then they have to do the straight protocol. There's a protocol.
4 officers on the scene, none of them.
Yes. No one did what they were supposed to be doing.
And if they were better trained, this is the reason why police officers need to be better trained in mental health. If they were better trained in mental health, they would have been able to identify this man is having a panic attack. He's screaming that he can't breathe because he is literally having shortness of breath, heart palpitations, and a belief that he is about to die. That's the reason why he was saying that he couldn't breathe before Chauvin even started choking him, because he couldn't. So let's take that. You have a man who is gasping for breath because he's having a panic attack, and then instead of helping him to calm down so that he can breathe, he put his weight on the man's neck. And the other officers exactly, and the other officers putting their body weight on the rest of his body. I remember when I worked in residential, when we would have kids.
We want to bring them days back up.
Got to bring these days up. When we had a kid that had panic attacks, this one kid, she would immediately run outside when she was having a panic attack because she needed air. She needed fresh air. She felt like she couldn't breathe. She felt like she was choking. She felt like she was going to die. And we would keep people away from her. We would keep the other kids away from her, with nobody crowding all around her, because physically, even though it's a psychological condition, they are literally struggling to breathe. The last thing you want to do to a person who cannot breathe is put your knee on their neck and cut off their air supply. I'm wondering if, because he had been saying he couldn't breathe, if maybe the other officers dismissed his claims that he couldn't breathe.
But they're not supposed to.
And they shouldn't. And that doesn't excuse Chauvin, because he knew he was choking him to death. But I'm wondering if the other officers thought, well, he's been saying he couldn't breathe, so surely he can breathe. No, he couldn't breathe. And once his body went limp, and they continued to stay on him.
Threw him on a gurney. Just so disrespectful.
This was clear, blatant murder. But I just wanted to talk about the fact that they haven't brought this up in the prosecution, that the man clearly, it looked like he was having a panic attack. That's why he was resisting arrest. He was not resisting arrest to be aggressive. He wasn't doing it in anger. He was literally terrified. He was fighting to get out of the back of that car. Like, he was terrified. There's a difference in how you handle someone who is resisting you because they're terrified, and someone who is resisting you because they're being angrily aggressive. And that was not the case. And
The
so,
thing about it is that they did not follow protocol. If they had a followed protocol, hopefully he will still be alive, because the moment that he said that he had a phobia, and that's when he should have been set on the side of the curb and called a
yes,
paddy wagon and EMT to check his blood pressure and his breathing.
yes, because he was
And
visibly
they have been
terrified.
trained that. They just don't care. And that's the problem. And
And
that's
that's what it was.
and they did not care. And that's where it started. And I really hate to say this, but they awarded his family so much money in a civil suit. I got a
Hmm.
funny feeling that he's gonna get away free.
I hope not.
I hope
I
not
hope
too,
not.
but I got a funny feeling about that, because this will not be the first time in history, not even the second time in history that this has
Not
happened.
even the 10th
They,
time in history.
come on, because when they award them a very big civil suit,
Well, as one who has, I see people in therapy who struggle with anxiety disorders that then kicks them into panic attacks and, panic disorder. It is their biggest nightmare because they really do believe that they're dying because they can't breathe and they're having heart palpitations. It is their worst nightmare to actually have someone cut off their breathing because they're already gasping for breath.
their heart is
Those,
already pumping. It's yeah.
yes, he died. This was like a nightmare coming to life for him. This was a horrifying, torturous way for a person to die who was already terrified before he ended up on the ground with an officer's knee on his neck. If you watch, I know you haven't been able to watch it, and let me tell you,
I'm watching.
it is horrible to see. If you watch that footage of them trying to put him in the back of that squad car, he was terrified. And they punished him for being terrified. They punished him for having a panic attack.
Yes,
Because
and
that's just
panic attacks is really real. My youngest son
oh
used
yeah.
to have panic attacks in school, and I
Mm-hmm.
had to go up there and check the school, because he, whenever there was a big school wide test like the math 7, he would like really have a panic attack about it, and they would have
Yes.
to call, yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
EMTs, and they're like, oh, he just don't want, no, what you not gonna do, tell me what's going on with
Mm-hmm.
my child. He was having panic attacks, and I had to start doing like some breathing exercises with him, and not
Yes.
let him know that it's not that serious. Because they, in school, they had them think that it was so serious and it's so important. And yes, it is serious. Yes, it is important. But don't stress yourself out about that.
Well, and a lot of times people do not know it's a panic attack. They show up at the emergency room, and that's when they find out after the ER does a full run of tests and cannot find anything physically
I knew
wrong with
what it
them.
was when I got there, and that's what ABCD. Oh, he was having a panic attack, and Dr. looked
Yes,
at me like, I'm like, yeah, I'm a master's level social worker. He's having a panic attack.
yes. I A lot of times they'll end up referred to therapy after they have been to the emergency room. And sometimes they show up for therapy and they still are struggling to believe that there's nothing wrong with them physically, that it was a panic attack. Because they're like, I know I couldn't breathe. I know I was having heart palpitations and like sweating and I explained to them, no, you were having all of those symptoms, but it's triggered, it's psychological. And
Your mind controls your whole body.
it takes time for them to believe it because they're like, no, I was dying. I don't know why they told me to come see you for therapy. I was dying. That's why I went to the ER. And then once you help them to realize that they were having panic attacks, then you can help them with the, like you were doing with your son, with the self-calming techniques to gain, as a way of coping with their anxiety.
Yes.
So that it doesn't spike into a panic attack.
Yes.
But when he was screaming and crying that they were killing him and he was going to die and he couldn't breathe, well, one, he ended up right. They were killing him. But he really believed he was dying even before they were choking him.
And you know, and I don't know, did he believe it or not, but he never had his chance to find out.
Right.
And that's my problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I will say that to my listeners and our viewers again. Before you guys look at that clip, please have your mind in the right place. Please be able to understand what you're going through. And it can cause psychological problems. So you have to make sure that you're healthy in your mind and your soul. Right. Before you look at that. Because it's very graphic.
It's like 8 hours of courtroom footage. Pace yourself, people. Pace yourself before you're watching it. Okay, let's get to the question of the day. Male victim.
We don't have time for the question of the day. I tell everybody, yes, we gotta have a safe word for JP.
Yes, we do, Stacy D.
You think we do?
Yes. How long is T-Nick Real Estate? How long? Hello there. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Isn't she so pretty?
She is. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I am fine, thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and roll with the segment because Mr. Walker has already brought her on. Okay, and then we'll come back and do and wrap up our question of the day. Okay.
So while we have T-Nick on the line, how do you feel about the whole George Floyd thing that's going on right now?
Oh my goodness, it's so disheartening. I mean, yes, watching those videos from all angles, I couldn't even watch it all. And just to hear him call out for his mother over and over again. I mean, I really did cry. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm getting chills. I'm just trying to visualize it. I mean, I've seen it, but just put myself in his state. I don't even want to imagine it.
And especially being the mother of young men is very difficult. It's scary. It's so difficult to even imagine if I wasn't there for my baby when he was calling out, for me. It's just difficult. And I just hope that we get some type of justice for this. Every time I think about it, I think back to the Rodney King situation and how even with all of those videos, everything that went on, he really still didn't get justice.
He didn't.
It's just horrible.
They gave him the money.
He
got the money.
But how much is my life worth?
Exactly. Right. It's not enough money. It's not enough money. And just like you, T, I'm also a mother.
Right.
It's just the moms take it at a whole nother. It's just a whole nother feeling by you being a mother of a Black man. It's just like, oh my God, that could be one of my babies one day. Oh my goodness. It just gets you into so many feelings that it's just so many feelings.
Yeah, I agree.
T-Nick, you're located in Wyandotte County, correct?
I am.
Okay.
That girl.
There you go. This is wonderful. Can you tell us about T-Nick Real Estate?
Sure. T-Nick Real Estate was formed back in 2011. I started in my house and it just grew and grew. Now we have 8 agents and an assistant. We work primarily in Wyandotte County, but of course I do have a Missouri license as well, so I can service the whole metropolitan area. I've moved my office to 1913 Quinduro right now because I've been,
Yeah, you bringing it right back into the heart. Right.
Right. I want to, make sure we try to get this area revitalized. I'm working with different partners on doing that. So if I'm going to talk about it, I need to be about it. And so I moved my office down here, and I love it down here. So, it's just trying to make sure that you're involved with the community, have some type of community engagement going on, and just being out there.
Love it. Love it.
And how long have you been in business?
Well, I've been a realtor since 2002. I started with a big company at first, but I've owned T-Nick Real Estate since 2011.
Okay.
So this is my 10th year in business, and I'm going on my 20th year as a real estate agent.
Oh, wow. So how do you feel about that market as a Black woman? Do you think it's an up and growing thing? And I'm in 2002. How was it? I mean, did you see a lot of people like you in 2002?
Actually, yes. Yes. I think there were, I don't think there's a big difference in between Black and white, Hispanic. There is a variety of us. And it's even that way still today. I know it's a few companies that are Black women owned that are, awesome. So there are a few successful Black women owned companies out here right now on the Kansas and the Missouri side. So I think the owning of the business has become more, integrated than just everyone working for big companies. So that has changed as well.
I love hearing that. I hope our little girls are listening to this. Hey, you might better be the next T-Nick.
Yes, come on. I actually have people shadow me all the time. So come on.
White girl power.
So is there, because we do this segment highlighting a minority business because we want, our listeners to know that there are minority owned businesses out there for them to patronize. Is there anything else that you would like for our listeners to know as far as T-Nick Real Estate is concerned? Like, do you specialize in just, is it commercial real estate? Is it, residential? Like, what else would you like for them to know so that they can know when to give T-Nick Real Estate a call?
Yes, like a 2-minute free commercial.
We handle all facets of real estate: commercial, residential, vacant lots, anything that you're looking for. The only thing that we don't do is rentals, and I can help you. I can refer you to someone that handles residential because that's usually more property management. But as far as selling a property, we can do all avenues. So if you're looking to purchase a home, if you're looking to sell a home, if you're looking to purchase a commercial building, sell a commercial building, a vacant lot, like I said, there are multiple agents here. So when one agent works for you, we all work for you. So that's the difference with my company. So if you have your house on the market with one agent, we all are trying to get that house sold. So that's what sets us apart. And of course, the community engagement sets us apart as well. We have so many different things that we hand out turkeys for Thanksgiving. We have a Christmas program where we give to the children for Christmas. This year, we'll be doing a Juneteenth program on Quindaro where we're going to have a Juneteenth celebration. So there are so many different things that we do. I can't even think of them all right now. So we basically try to make sure that we are all community involved.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with Stacy D. I like it that you are still in the urban core because so many businesses have been going out, towards the legends and even further. And so I think it's great that you are a part of the goal and attempt to revitalize, the inner urban core. So this is wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So let me just go ahead and get my shameless plug. It's 816-728-0966. So just call if you have any questions regarding any real estate.
Okay. And send Stacy D something that we'll put on our page so that, anyone who did not get the phone number, you can go to we'll put it on our Facebook page You all can get that contact information for T. Nick Real Estate. Thank you
I
so much
appreciate
for
it.
coming on the show.
Yes, thank you
Thank
so much, T-Nick.
Thank you. You guys have a good day.
All right, thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh my goodness, that was truly, truly a good minority.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good
That
resource.
is really coming up, you guys, about us owning our own property. Did you see her say commercial? Commercial. That means
Commercial
buying
real
a whole
estate
big
and
building
residential. Yes.
and residential. I want to buy a building.
Everybody wants to buy a building.
What am I doing with it?
Oh, we can come up with something to do with it. Rent out the office space. Rent out the office space. Okay, Stacy D.
About that.
Yeah, it's time to call T. Nick.
Call T. Nick.
Okay, let's get to let's try to get through part 2 of our male victims of domestic violence. Okay, how can these men who are victims, survivors, making the transition from victim to survivor? Okay, here's some things to think about. Start by talking about it to someone that you trust. And for men, it can be difficult to do this, to have someone to talk to if you're experiencing domestic violence. This is where a therapist can come in handy because they're an objective listener, experience. You know, most therapists are experienced with treating domestic violence, male or female victims. So that's a good place to start. If your partner is willing to participate in couples therapy and you guys feel like you have a chance at salvaging the relationship, that would be the avenue to take as well. Okay. Next thing, have an emergency code word or a phrase that you can use with a trusted friend, alerting them to call the police immediately. Okay. Have the person's number in your favorites in your phone. If you are experiencing a crisis and, you know, things are blowing up in your home and, you know, the violence is escalating, you don't have time to be searching through your phone trying to find a phone number. It needs to be in your favorites. You need to have someone on speed dial that you can have a code word and they call the police. The domestic violence hotline number, this is a national number, and we'll put this on our page, is 1-800-799-SAFE, SAFE, which is 7233. Okay. When you call that number, you can ask for local resources for helping you to safely exit that abusive relationship. Identify safe places that you can go to in an instant. Friend's house, shelter, that your abuser will not know your location. I know it's a natural instinct to go to, you know, that close family member's house, but if you know that your abuser is going to predict that that's where you're going to go, that's not the place to go. You need to have a safe location to go to that your abuser will not be able to track you down at. Okay, avoid predictable places or places that are in close proximity to your home. Next, pack an emergency exit bag and keep it hidden in a secure place in case you have to leave the home suddenly. Preferably, don't even have the bag in your home. Have a emergency exit bag at the place, the friend's home or wherever it is that you are planning to go in escaping the relationship. And in that bag, you need to have clothes, personal papers, money, financial papers, medications, and etc. Anything that you must have when you exit that relationship and exit that home. You do not want to have to return to the home for anything. Also, pack your kids' necessities as well. Pack their medications as well. Okay. Use your cell phone carefully. This is a very important tip because your abuser might check your phone to get ideas on where you might go if you were to leave. A lot of times, abusive spouses will look into, you know, cell phones to try to predict, okay, if my partner tries to leave, where might they go? And so you want to, what's really best is to have a burner phone, a separate cell phone that your partner does not know about. Okay. But your regular phone, you want to secure it. You want to keep your password, change it periodically so that your abuser cannot access your text messages. Okay. Next tip, be careful in your use of your computer. When you don't use your regular home computer to Google domestic violence resources unless you're going to use the incognito option so that what you are researching cannot be incognito. Yes, so that your abuser cannot access the resources that you have been looking into. Remove GPS devices from your car so that, of course, you cannot be tracked. Frequently change the passwords to your email accounts, bank accounts, all of those different things. Very important. Be willing to get a restraining order or order of protection. I know that this is difficult for men to fathom having to get that, but if the abusive relationship is physically abusive, you need to be willing to consider doing that to protect yourself. Okay. Try to avoid retaliating, because as a male victim of domestic violence, you do not want to run the risk of the police showing up and handcuffing you. It'll be easy to arrest you if you have retaliated. Okay. So last but not least, gather lots of evidence of the abuse, make police reports, keep a journal that has dates, locations, pictures of your injuries, secretly audio record abusive incidents, anything that you're going to need in court to defend yourself in escaping from the abusive relationship, and ask your therapist to be very clear in their documentation and treatment progress notes. That's it.
Good stuff.
That's a wrap. Are we good, Stacy D?
We're good. There's still a couple more points that we are going to check on with that on next week, because we were running, because George Floyd, as you can see, had JP all worked up.
I'm emotionally dysregulated.
Yes.
Shoot. All right. Thank you for joining us today. And remember, worry about nothing
and pray about everything.
God bless and take care.
Bye-bye now.